Hi, Eloise. How are you? You all right?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. I appreciate you coming on the podcast today. It really, really means a lot.
Absolutely. I actually really enjoy your podcast, and I've listened to some of your previous guests, and I thought it was really interesting, some of the point of views that they had. And so I thought we just like connect, and we have such a mutual love for coaching and helping others that I thought we'd be a good fit.
Yeah, yeah. No, I really appreciate that. And I feel like, since we talking previously, it just kind of like flows really well.
Yeah,
So yeah,
absolutely.
but no, I remember you were saying before that you used to work in quite a corporate position, and then you kind of switched to like coaching.
Yeah. So I was an international corporate lawyer for about over 15 years, and I worked in the business and financial sector. And so pretty much what I did is I would travel all around the world, mostly in Europe and the Middle East, and I would help all these business owners and these top executives come up with strategic planning and business plans and develop their international investment strategies. And somewhere along the way, because I was surrounded by such phenomenal business leaders, I don't want to say obsessed, but I became passionate about success. And I just wanted to figure out why some people that worked really, really hard from nothing became very successful, while others that also worked really, really hard were falling short of their goals and were falling short of succeeding. And I couldn't understand why. And so I started asking questions, right? Because that's the best way to learn, is you ask questions to people that have succeeded. I think it's Jim Rohn that said success leaves clues.
Hmm.
And so I was just asking people, like, how did you become successful, and how did you do it? And what I noticed is that there was kind of like common denominators, and everybody was saying like persistency and hard work, but those were more common. What I was really looking for were the little things. And after doing this for years, like over a decade, what I realized is that people that had set out with a purpose, people that had taken the time to draw out their vision, people that were actually on a mission to accomplish something, were the ones that succeeded.
Hmm.
And the ones that started a business because, they had a good idea, and then they started selling a service or a product, but they didn't really have a vision. So they kind of went with the market, or their mission was kind of like, okay, well, we want to make money, right? And I found that the people that were that lacked that purpose and that vision, that mission, were the ones that would always fall short of making it. Now, don't get me wrong, making money is an absolute must when you're in business, or else if you don't make money, you're not in business. But in the people that were successful, I found that was never the driving force. That was never the driving force. That was kind of like, okay, this is what we want to do, and we have to make money doing it. But this is our aim. And our aim is to have an impact on the world. Our aim is to change people's lives. Our aim is I was talking to real estate developers, and I was like, dude, you just build hotels. Like, and he was like, no, I build an experience. When people come in here, they can see art. And I noticed there was art all around the walls. He's like, I offer them an experience where they can come in and they relax and they're surrounded by beauty. I give them that moment in their day where they can forget about everything and just lose themselves in the beauty that surrounds them. And I was like, oh, so this is this huge developer in Dubai. I was sure he was going to talk to me about real estate and location and, like things that made him into a billionaire. And here he was talking to me about beauty and peace and creativity, and offering a moment of joy to people that walked into like his hotels and his condo towers. And I was like, wow, I'm missing the boat here. Like he clearly understood something that I'm not understanding at that time. And
Wow.
yeah, and that really hit me. And what I noticed about him and other people was that they may be in finance, or they may be selling, hotel units or whatever. But the underlying reason of why they were doing it was so more profound. And it's what allowed them to always overcome the hurdles that were coming their way and to keep going. Like, no matter how hard things were, they were like, well, we have a goal, and we have a purpose, and we have a vision. And so when I realized that, I'm like, well, everybody needs to know this. Like, everybody should know that being purpose driven and vision driven is of the utmost importance. And so somebody suggested that I should be a coach. And to be honest, I thought that was like ludicrous. I thought that was hilarious. I was like, no, what is that? Like, what is a coach? And I was telling you earlier, like, at the time I was training for triathlons, and I was like, well, like, I have a swim coach and I have a nutrition coach. I don't want to be one of those. Like, I don't want to be a physical coach. And that's what I thought a coach was. Right. And they're like, no, like coaching, like, business owners and executives and entrepreneurs. And I was like, I don't know what that is. So being who I am, I started digging, and then I got certified, and then I was like, oh, wait a minute, there's like a whole world of coaching. And that's how I got into it.
Damn.
So,
wow. It's amazing how like you said, you made that switch and you realized, that there was something else that, you wanted to go into. Because, like, I think sometimes people can get into like these jobs and they've been there for, quite some time. And it's a risk, isn't it? Because you're jumping into the unknown. You're jumping into something that's new.
yeah.
Sorry.
I know I get asked a lot, like, how do you transition from a career? How do you know what your purpose is? How do you know, like, you're taking the right decision? And I find that there's kind of this notion out there that purpose is something that's outside of you, that it's something that you have to go get, that it's something that if you do this job, you'll be fulfilled, or if you do this, and that, you'll be fulfilled, And I think that the point that a lot of people are missing, is that your purpose is inside of you. Like, you literally have everything to make the right decision for your life, for your career, for your business. You have all of that inside you. Like, that wisdom is within you. What you do have to do is to take the time to figure it out. And people are like, well, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know how to figure it out. And I'm like, well, look at where your strengths are. What are you good at? Not only that, what is it that you do that brings joy in your life, that you can do for hours without realizing that time is passing by? What is it that when you do it, you have this sense of presence and joy and creativity and this sense of fulfillment? And oftentimes people don't realize that you can find that in anything. I was talking to a client of mine, and she's not a business owner or an entrepreneur. She works, in corporate America. And we found out that her purpose was to be a team leader. She is so good at leading people. She is so good at inspiring and motivating others and developing like team building activities and everybody working together. And for a long time, she's like, oh, maybe I should start my own business. Maybe I'm on my purpose. And what we figured out is that she could live her purpose within her corporate job. It's just, she has to make an effort to make it a part of her everyday life. And when she figured that out, she kind of changed things around. She went to talk to her superior. She's like, I'd love to do more teamwork. Could I have my own team? And they're like, yes, absolutely. Yes. And they gave her all these opportunities. But had she not taken the time to figure out what ignited her, what brought so much joy and creativity to her life, if she hadn't taken the time to do that, she would have never had the courage to go see her superior and say, could I have a team to lead? Could I have more responsibilities in my job? Because when you're not purpose driven, when you don't really know what you want, it's hard to find the courage to go out there and do something about it. I don't know if you agree or if you had like similar experiences where you're just like, wow, I have no courage to do things. And you're like, well, do you believe in what you're doing? Do you know why you want to do what you're setting out to do?
Mm.
And oftentimes the
Yeah.
answer is like, oh, well, I do it like for, well, I should get a promotion, or I should launch a new product, or I should. I'm like, okay, but why? Why do you want
Mm.
it? Why do you want that promotion? Do you even want the promotion, or do you just want the title?
Mm.
Like, is it really going to make you happy? Or do you want to launch the product because you believe you're really going to help people with that product, and you're not just going after money, but you're really truly bringing value to others, and it is aligned with your business? Is that why?
Mm.
And most oftentimes I'll hear well, no, it's not really what I want to do. It's not really aligned with who I am, or it's not really aligned with my business. I just thought it was a good idea. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a waste of your time. It's a waste of, all your business resources. Let's do things that are aligned with what you truly stand for.
Mm. Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. And I think like what you said about, this person who, was in this job, and then she wanted to do something within that, like you said, was within her purpose.
Yeah,
And I think like if a workplace can say, yeah, sure, and they can set that up for you, then you're going to be more happier in your job, and you're going to be wanting to progress probably more. And so it's a win-win for you, and it's a win-win for them in some way, because they're probably going to get more productivity out of that person, aren't they? Compared to
exactly.
someone not, not being allowed to do that thing they want to do within their workplace. I think I've worked in a few places where I've made suggestions and stuff. Like I think remember a manager, because I was doing my coaching, and the manager was like, perhaps you could do it within the workplace. And then I think he
Yeah.
left. He left, so then that was that. So I was like, okay, cool. And then it just disappeared. But yeah, if you can have it something where you're supported and you can progress, and
Yeah. But I think there's something to be said also. I think a lot of people wait for external support, but I think that
mm,
if you truly know what your purpose is, and you have a vision of what you want to accomplish, let's say my client's, superior, her manager had said, no, we can't give you a team. Then I think from there, it's important to still take steps
mm,
towards accomplishing your purpose, and then showing results.
mm,
And there's no manager, no business owner that is impartial to results. Nobody's going to say, oh, you know what, we don't want you to succeed, and we don't want our business to succeed, and we really wish you stopped doing all the good things that you're doing.
mm,
Nobody's going to say that. So oftentimes people take rejection as a rejection of their purpose
mm,
and a rejection on their person.
mm,
And it's not. It could simply be that morning, whoever you spoke to was not, predisposed to listen. Maybe they had other things on their mind. Maybe they're dealing with so much that, they just didn't want to hear any other ideas right now. They had so much already to deal with.
mm,
And so you have to take a step back and say, okay, well, this is truly something that I feel I could bring value to my company. I can bring value to my team. I can bring value to my boss. I can bring value to this manager. So I'm just, without disrespecting him, I'm just going to go about showing him the results that I could produce for our
mm,
team and for him, and how
mm,
it could benefit all of us.
mm,
And I think that's important in anything that you do when you run your business or in your own life, is to not take rejection as a rejection on who you are as a person.
mm. Yeah. Yeah.
You
No, I
know,
agree.
it's simply a rejection of, an idea. And I've worked with, business owners who've come out with a product and nobody bought it. Like, nobody was interested in their product. And they're like, well, I don't understand. I don't know what am I going to do? Am I going to close my business? And I'm like, no, let's realign your purpose, your vision, your mission, because whatever they said about your product, the fact they're not buying, is not a reflection of you as a business owner. It's simply a reflection that product didn't meet their needs. So
Mm,
let's go back to the drawing boards. Let's figure out what went wrong, and let's do it better next time.
mm,
But I think that for a lot of coaches that are just starting out, consultants, they feel like if they're being rejected, that it's a rejection of who they are.
Mm.
And that can be heart crushing. It can be hard.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to look past that.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think as well, like with the rejection side of things and failing or not getting needs met, I think like I remember that Gary Vaynerchuk, he said something like, there are people who are like, adults and they're going out into the business world and something isn't working out or they're being rejected and they take it really bad because they've not had it growing up at very much, and then they just stop whatever they're doing. And he said like, and I found that through, doing my podcasts and reaching out to people, you get a lot of no's. And at first, like, I was like, damn, this is crap. Like, why am I doing this? And then, but then after like probably 40 or 50, you're like, okay, well, it still sometimes gets you, but sometimes it's like, oh, well, do you know what I mean? And I think that's probably key.
I always tell the story when I work with starting entrepreneurs, and this is a true story. So when I started to really be a coach, and I'm like, okay, I'm starting my coaching business. This is what I do. And I reached out to almost 2,000 people. Okay. It's literally almost everybody I had ever met in the past, like 20 years of my life, right? Everybody whose email address I had, excluding my family, I sent an email to. Okay. I got 2 responses.
Wow.
2. And you know what those two weren't clients. I had someone said, best of luck. I'm so happy that you've transitioned into a new career. Best of luck. And the other one was like, this sounds interesting. Maybe sometime in the future we'll work together. Out of 2,000. I had 2. And so when people tell me, oh, I've made 10 calls, I've reached out to 5 people and everybody said no, I'm like, don't worry. It's okay.
Yeah.
and the truth be told, that when I reached out to those people, like, I reached out to everybody. I didn't do any research on, were they my ideal clients? Could I bring them value? What value would I bring them? Was there a need in their business that I could help them with? What was my message? Like, I hadn't figured out any of that. And then but I knew that I wanted to help others. Like, that is the core of who I am. I wake up every day wondering, who can I help today? Like, it is fundamentally part of who I am. I've been like that my entire life. And so I'm like, no, I'm not going to let 1,998 rejections get in the way of the value that I could bring to others. So what I started doing was I figured out who my ideal clients were. And then I contacted them, not to sell anything. I'm like, listen, I'm not selling you services. I'm not selling you anything. I just want to understand your struggles. I want to understand what you're going through in your business. And because everything that I had learned internationally, I wanted to make sure that I could translate it into something that could be used in all businesses. And I did that for every single day. I had a target of calling, my ideal clients, not to sell anything, simply to get to know them and to understand what their struggles were. That's it. I just wanted to listen. And a lot of people are not willing to do that legwork. A lot of people are not willing to go through the hassle of spending 2-3 hours a day listening to other people complain about what's going wrong in their business, right? But I wanted to know. And from that moment until 3 months later, I had a profitable business that was running smoothly within 3 months.
Wow.
And that was exclusively because I chose to do the hard work every single day. I was willing to be rejected over and over and over and over again. And I was willing to listen and take notes, and I was willing to be wrong. And I was willing to have people tell me, like, who are you trying to figure this out? Like, I had to be okay with all of that. And the only reason that I was okay with all of it was because I had a purpose. And I was driven by what I wanted to do. And I was driven by this need that I have to help other, and this mission that I'm on to allow businesses and executives to have the impact that they want to have in the world. You know, and in today's culture, I think customers and clients are really seeking to do business with people that stand for something, that have a purpose, that want to impact positively the world around them. And so that's what I tell people when they're just starting out. I'm like, do the hard work. And I think Gary Vee, because you mentioned it before, is the perfect example of someone that is highly successful, who said, I got here because I worked extremely hard to get here. And I think he was saying, I thought it was fascinating. He said that when he started off, when he was in still the wine business, he was answering tweets on Twitter 7 hours a day.
Yes, crazy.
Like, I don't know anybody that personally, I don't know anybody that's willing to do that now. You know?
Yeah, I do like agree with what you're saying. I think like when you think of it, I mean, 7 hours is quite a long time. But he's benefited from doing that. Yeah, and I think like you said, I've never heard of anyone doing 7 hours. If you said to somebody, I've been responding for 7 hours, you'd be like, what?
Yeah, but I mean, he's not the only one. I was listening to Lewis Hose from School of Greatness, and he said when he started out, he was on LinkedIn 8 hours a day, connecting with people, connecting with influencers, getting to know people, starting groups. I mean, so when I see like all over social media, the, get rich quick in 90 days, become like a sold out coach in 90 days. If you're going to be a sold out coach in 90 days and have a business running, like I had a smoothly running business in 90 days, but it was 90 days after I hadn't gotten 2,000 rejection, and that I worked extremely hard every single day. And like, I'm a mom of 2 very young children. And so I was managing all of that at the same time. And so when people tell me like, oh, we really want to make it in business, I'm like, okay, perfect. Then be willing to work very hard, you know, and make sure you're very grounded in your purpose and your vision and your mission, because you are going to need it to get you through all the hurdles.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think that's a really, really good point. And I think like what you said is that, you know, you have to have that purpose and that reason why you're doing it, because it requires a lot of time, it requires a lot of work. And if you haven't got like that passion for it, or those values, and you're just people are just interested in like probably, you know, the money, that it's not the same. It's not the same when you put the two together.
No, exactly.
And I've worked in restaurants where, I mean, I worked in hospitality for about 10 years. So I've met lots of different chefs, and I've seen the chefs and the people in that industry who are passionate and they're driven, and I've seen the people who are just interested in the money. And you see the two differences.
Yeah, but you know, sometimes I think people are interested in money just because they haven't done the work. And I mean, that's what I do, right? I sit down with these executives and these business owners, and I'm like, okay, let's figure out your business purpose. Let's write down your mission and your vision. Let's get to the core of it. That's the work I do, right? I make them do that work. But I think people just save money because sometimes it's easier. But like you said, sometimes people just didn't want to figure out what it was that they truly wanted. Maybe deep down, like he says, oh, it's money. Maybe deep down, he loved food, and he loved to share food with others. And
no, that's it. I think going back to like what you said about that, the guy who owned those hotels.
Yeah.
As well, like you said, like the guy, he wasn't just interested. You know, he was looking at like the art side of it, providing an experience for people to, you know, relax, wind down, and that's like a deeper purpose, isn't it? He's not just focused on people coming and spending money and staying there. And it's all those little tiny. Sometimes it's the small things, isn't it, that make a massive difference.
Yeah, it is, and people think that should come naturally. But I have a whole theory on what's natural and not natural. And when people say natural, there usually means that there's 99% of hard work behind whatever you see that's natural. And when I asked him, I'm like, how did you get to that purpose? Like, how did you figure out that beauty was something that you wanted to create? And he said, oh, I worked with a mentor. I worked with somebody that wasn't satisfied with me just saying, I want to build hotels. He kept saying, why do you want to build hotels? Why do you want to build there? What kind of experience are you going to build? And then I would tell him, and he'd be like, well, why? Why do you want to build such experiences? Like, and he told me, like, he just wouldn't let me off the hook. And he kept probing and asking and asking and asking until one day I told him, like, you know, when he was a kid, he loved to go to these places at his grandparents' house where it was just so beautiful, and he felt so at peace, and he felt like he could spend hours there and feel like a minute had passed by. And it's that sentiment of safety and peace that he wanted to recreate. And that's where his sense of purpose came from, was to give everyone that came there that sense of beauty and peace and joy. But had he not worked with someone that was pushing him and asking, like, why and why and why, he would have never gotten to the bottom of what he truly wanted to express through his hotels. And who knows if he would have been that successful. You know, because everybody that came into this place, and I mean, I sat there and listened, people would be like, oh my God, I love coming here. This is so peaceful here. It was like a consensus. Everybody that went there was like, it's so peaceful there. It's so, I feel so at ease. And I think, and the reason why I feel that, and so that he got to that point was because he had figured out what he wanted to recreate. And so people are like, well, should I just know my purpose? I'm like, no. If you don't know it, you're like 99.99% of all of us. Okay. Yeah. So there's no shame in not knowing what your purpose is. There's no shame in not having a drafted vision. You just have to be willing to say, like, okay, this is what I want from now on. And so I'm going to do the hard work to figure out what brings me fulfillment.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. When you was talking there, something just came into my head, and it just reminded me of Walt Disney and what he's left. Because I went to Florida once and went to Walt Disney's park. It was fairly crazy, but like it had that magical. He was left with this sense of magic.
Yeah.
And like, wow. And I think everyone who goes there experiences that. And you think of like that person and what their purpose was and all the rest of it.
Yeah. And what's crazy is that Walt Disney was able to continue that magic without him there. Like, I mean, his purpose is so ingrained in the Walt Disney like corporation, the Walt Disney name in the corporate culture, that it carries through everything that they do. Like, it's like you watch their movies and their movies are magical, and you go to their resort, and it's magical too. And I think that when you have a very deep sense of purpose and you have a very clear vision, it's able to transcend you. It will. And people often ask me, okay, well, what else is it going to do for my business? I'm like, well, it does everything. Your purpose is how you brand yourself. It's your branding. It's your corporate culture. It's when you look to hire people, your employees, it's the values that you want them to have and the purpose you want them to relate to. So I'd say it really goes over every single aspect of your business and of your life, because whether you're an executive or a business owner, you're one person. So if you're a dad, a mom, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, and a business owner, there's not two of you. There's just one of you. And so who you are as a person in your everyday life should transcend into who you are as a business owner. Like, if you are someone that truly believes in empathy and kindness, then your business should be a reflection of your empathy and your kindness.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's pretty true, isn't it? And it's like your values, isn't it? And I think, like you said, how you are as a person comes into it kind of, what's the right word? is reflected in your business, isn't it? Like those values and how you are. And, you know, you look at Steve Jobs, for example, like when he was around. I mean, I watched the movie and I was like, you know, how he spoke to his staff. It was, you know, it's not, you know, everyone's approach, but like you looked at his products and they were like, you know, they're it's perfectionism, isn't it? And he was a massive perfectionist, and that was probably one of his traits.
Yeah, but he was what I always tell people is that he was like that in his personal life too. Like, I mean, he wore the exact same clothes, the black turtlenecks and the jeans, and like the structure that he had and that he imposed on others was the same structure that he imposed on himself. And I think that when people are often on a verge of burnout or they're unhappy is because there's a misalignment between who they are and what they're doing.
Yeah.
And you find that at every level, which, you know, whether you're a top executive, a business owner, or whether you have a corporate job or you have no job or you're a student, there's often if you're unhappy, and it's because you're misaligned. What you want and who you are and your purpose is like right here, but what you actually feel pressured into doing is here. And so that gap that is creating, that's where all the pressure is. That's what you want, things to be like this, but things are actually like this, and that gap is what's causing the stress and the pain and the burnouts. And so what I try to do is to close in that gap and say, okay, like if your reality is here, but your purpose and your vision is here, let's try to align them together so that we close that gap, we close that discomfort, we close off that pain.
Do you think that is based? Have you seen? I bet you've seen a massive increase in that throughout this time, in the past couple of months.
People being, yeah. You know what? It's actually funny you say that. I've seen two reactions, like two completely different reactions. I've seen people fall in complete despair and be like, this is the reality we're living right now. This is not what I want or what I had envisioned for my year. We are all doomed. This is the end of the world. You know, like really massive, massive despair. I've seen that reaction a lot. And then I've seen the complete opposite reaction of, all right, okay, so we're closed down now, and this is the perfect time to revamp our store, look at our products, do an inventory of our services, reach out to our clients, reach out to our customers, like a completely different mindset of, okay, you know, we're being imposed this like pandemic, this COVID-19, a coronavirus pandemic. So let's make the best of it. And let's make sure that all the people around us are safe and healthy, and let's reach out to everyone. And that I can only attribute to having a growth mindset, to having a fixed mindset. And the growth mindset being like, whatever challenge you are faced with, you can overcome, or you turn into like a solution oriented mindset where it doesn't matter what's happening. We'll get through it. We'll figure out a way. And then you have the fixed mindset, which is, these things are happening to me. This is the end of my business. I will never get out of it. And when you work with somebody that has a fixed mindset, it's more about trying to change their mindset than actually changing the situation itself. You have to change how they view things, their limiting beliefs, how their perception and their worldviews are. That's where you have to do the work to bring them to see like, hey, there are opportunities, there are solutions, there are great things you can do right now and still grow your business in this pandemic. We just have to change how you view it. So it's different type of work. With the growth mindset people, it's more about learning how to focus their energy and learning how to focus like their opportunities and what to do next. And when I work with fixed mindset people, it's more like, okay, let's work on your mindset first.
Yeah.
and then we'll look for opportunities, right?
Yeah.
Let's start there. So
yeah. I find it really fascinating though, like, you know, like you said, human behavior and how we think and why we think, you know, what we do and behave. And I think, like you said, it's really interesting to see people, like you said, there's two extremes, like, you know, that kind of dwell, you know, worry, panic, and, you know, go one way and one go the other. because I know like I know some people who throughout this pandemic there's like a silver lining, like they've created something in this time. And I spoke to a chef and he started doing DJing. I spoke
That's
to
awesome.
someone I used to work with in hospitality, and he set up his own like function business, or like people can use his catering services, and he set that up
That's so
within lockdown. And I've seen a lot of people start podcasts and things like that. So, but when it happened, I mean, the lockdown for me, like when it first happened, I remember just feeling, like you said, anxious, worried. I just went to a state of just like overwhelm. And then I had to kind of, have a chat to myself and a chat to my mom to kind of like bring me back round. And I think it's whether you can kind of go that full circle, isn't it? Because we've all experienced our own thing throughout this. We've all experienced, I think someone said, like, we've experienced every single emotion, throughout this whole time.
Yeah. The good thing is that you have the tools to bring yourself around. Like you're a life coach, so you know how to have that talk with yourself to get into your mindset and bring yourself around. And I think it's really important for people that don't have those tools to reach out to people that do and be like, okay, like this is what I'm going through. So like reach out to a life coach like yourself, be like, okay, well here, like this is how I'm feeling. And I have this immense sense of overwhelm and I really don't know how to turn things around for myself. And I find that in this day and age, we have the privilege of social media, right? Which is you can find anyone online. So which means that you don't have to go through any struggles alone. You don't have to face your fears by yourself. You don't have to stay in a position where you are overwhelmed by yourself. If you are in that situation, then reach out to people like you and be like, hey, like, let's do like virtual, like we're on two completely different time zones, right? I'm here in Montreal, Canada, and you're in England. And so, but we're still connected and we're still having this great conversation. And I think that people can be like, okay, now you can reach out to anybody in the world. If there's nobody around you that can help you, then reach out to people that are like hundreds and thousands of miles away from you that could ease that sense of overwhelm, that could ease that panic and that anxiety that you have. And I think that's very important for everyone to know. Like, just reach out to people that have the tools that you need to be well and to be successful and to thrive.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think, like, people can sometimes realize, think to themselves that it's only them going through certain things, and there's going to be lots of other people who are going through the same thing as well, and they can reach out to them and things like that. Do you have any favorite books that you like to read, or anything you're reading at the minute, or any that you can pick?
My God. Okay, where do I start? Okay, so my all-time favorite book is 7 Habits of Highly Efficient People by Stephen Covey. My ultimate favorite book. Daring Greatly by Brené Brown. Other phenomenal book. What is it? I have it right here. Atomic Habits by James Clear. Yeah, phenomenal. If you are someone that has a really hard time getting into new habits or developing healthier habits, Atomic Habits from James Clear is a must read. And it reads so fast because it's actionable. That's what I like about the books that I like. I love theory. I love, metaphysics and all that. I love it. But what I love even more is a book that is practical and that you can apply. And I find that Atomic Habits is that. So I would say, like, right now, those are like my top 3 books. And the other one that I just started, which is actually right here, sorry, is 12 Rules for Life.
I've got that one.
Yeah, did you like it?
I've not started yet. It's on my. I'm just working through a book now that I'm going to read that afterwards. But
what are you working on right now?
I've been reading Crush It by Gary Vee, his first book, I think it is.
Okay, yeah.
To do with social media. And then I've got 12 Rules for Life. I've got that many books. I end up reading a book and then going on Amazon and then buying another one. And then, I've got 12 Rules for Life, and another one I need to read. I want to get is called Principles.
Okay.
I'm kind of thinking who that's by.
I don't know that book.
I forgot who it's by, but it sounds really good.
I'm gonna have to go on Amazon and check it out.
Yeah, yeah. And I've got Tim Ferriss, one of his books.
Yeah, he's very good.
But no, I think reading is important, isn't it? You learn quite a lot.
You do, but I think that the most important thing when you read a book is to put it into action. Like you can read all the self-help and the self-development books that are out there, but if you don't actually put into practice what it says, it becomes pointless. Like I am a huge fan of Tony Robbins. I've read a lot of his books. They're massive, massive books. But if you don't apply what he says, if you don't apply what James Clear says in Atomic Habits, then it's not going to change your life. It's not going to have an impact in your life. And I think that people think that they're just going to read books and it's going to change everything for them. But really, it's in the application. It's in the massive action that you're going to take every single day from what you've learned that is going to have an impact on your life. And so I love telling people the books that I read, because the ones that I love to read are the ones that are very actionable. And I tell people, I'm like, okay, go read this book and then do it.
Yeah.
And then do it. Don't just read the entire book and not do it. So what I like to do when I read a book is I'll read an entire chapter and I'll apply it right away before I move on to the next chapter.
Nice.
Like I'll look at, okay, how can I apply this in my life? How can I make this into something that will have an impact on my life or an impact on others? And if I feel that it doesn't, I'm just like, okay, this chapter didn't bring me any value. I'll go on to the next. And if I find after 2-3 chapters that nothing is bringing me value, then I move on to another book.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I can't apply any of this.
Yeah.
I can't apply any of this stuff, right? So it doesn't work for me. Maybe it works for someone else, but it doesn't work for me. But yeah, that's what I encourage people to do. Like when you read a book that you're really into, don't try to race through the book. Like really think about how are you going to implement it in your life, in your business. Like a lot of people I know read all these business books. I'm like, what'd you learn from it? And then they tell me, I'm like, how are you applying it? And they're like, well, I'm like,
yeah.
this is the part we have to work on. This is what we really need to do. We need to apply exactly what it is that you're actually learning.
Yeah.
So.
No, I completely agree. I think it's a really good point. And I think like, it's the same with like, people listening to this and watching this, when they do, you take and apply what you listen to, isn't it? As well, what you read, what you look at. And, if something really resonates with you, isn't it? It's important. You can't just read something and expect things to happen.
No, nothing's going to happen by magic.
Yeah, no, so I got one last question. Who are your role models? That's a very broad kind of like question, but who, like in terms of like whether that's personal or that's like people out there and who are famous or anyone.
That's a very good question. So I had the immense privilege of growing up with a father that was my mentor, my guide, my superhero, my best friend, my business partner at one point. So up until his passing about 3 years ago, he truly was the person that I admired the most. Not only because he was an extremely successful entrepreneur himself, but by the way he treated people. He was the kindest person I had ever met. And I think that my need to help others comes from him, comes from what he taught me. And so he's someone that I greatly, greatly, greatly admired. Obviously, I've mentioned his name a bunch of times. Tony Robbins is someone that I truly admire for all the work that he's done, the immense impact that he has on people's lives. And Brené Brown, who's also someone that I mentioned before, who's done all this phenomenal work on vulnerability and shame and guilt. I'd be a little intimidated to have her as a friend because I'm not too sure like how I would deal with that. But and she's a phenomenal entrepreneur too. So I would say like these are two people that I truly greatly admire, and my dad before he passed away.
Yeah. No, that's really, really lovely. I think like
Thank you.
To have, role models, isn't it, as well, and to take, something positive from someone that you idolize.
Yeah,
I think it's really, really important. Um,
absolutely.
but no, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Eloise.
Likewise.
Where can people find you on social media and website
So,
and things like that?
LinkedIn is the place where you'll see me post all the time. I share as much knowledge as I can on value, leadership, purpose, mission, obviously. So LinkedIn is literally my handle is my name. It's Eloise Gagnon. Or you can find me on my website. I have a newsletter where I share every week loads of free stuff on all the stuff that we talked about today. So you can go on my website, which is www.eloisegagnon, my name.com. So easy as that. Just sign up and you'll get all this free stuff.
No, that's awesome. That's amazing, and it's nice. I really, really appreciate your time and talking to you. And I think you do an amazing job in what you're doing, and it's really motivating, and inspiring what you're doing, and it's really satisfying.
Thank you so much. It was so amazing
No,
speaking with you. I really appreciate
you're
it.
welcome.
Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Anytime. But no, have a great day.
Thank you so much. You too. Bye.
See you soon. Bye bye.